All right, this may not look like it, but these are the upper cabinets for our little kitchen project. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy these are to make. Alright, so our first step in creating our upper cabinets for our kitchen is to measure off and sketch out what we're doing, what sizes we want. And I've pretty much mapped out where my cabinets are going when I put in the tile and the wallpaper. So I've got a very rough sketch here. This isn't to scale. This is, it's none of those things. It's just here so that I can tell what I'm doing. I scribbled it down just really loosely so that I can measure and figure out what we're doing. So I know that this needs to go just past where that tile goes. So let's see. If I go, so that is 7.5 inches. So I have a 7.5 inch run on this wall. I know that my cabinets are going to be, they're going to be 3 inches. So this is 3 inches, this is 3 inches. This one, let's see, will 3/4 of an inch cover that? Not quite. We're going to make this one an inch. And then we'll go in an inch. Let's see. Let's measure from here. Then this one is going to be 3 3/4 of an inch. And then that will be the difference. This part, I'm going to go down 1.5 inches. Because any more than that would be, well, yeah, 1.5 inches will cover. So that's for this side. So I'm gonna cut a backing that's that shape. Now this side, we need 7 3/4 again. This one's 7 3/4. And again, I'm sure we are 3 inches. Yes, we are. Good. And this one is probably 1.5 inches again. Yep, 1.5 inches there. So now I need to measure how wide this is. Well, I'm going to measure this one and then I'll just take it off of that one. And that's going to be 4 5/8. So I need to go and cut out some pieces of foam core that are this size. And when I get that done, I'll be back and we'll go on to the next step. Alright, so I have been busy cutting foam core. And I've got 2 pieces here. This one goes here, and this is the size my kitchen top cabinet for this side of the kitchen will be. Just like that. And then this one is the size of this. And those are exactly the size I want. Once you have your cabinet bases cut the size you want, cut another set. You need 2 of each of these. And then the other thing I cut while I was off camera was some strips of foam core. These strips are 3/4 of an inch wide. I cut more than I need. And I have my pins, and I have my glue, if I can get the lid off of it. There we go. And we are going to start assembling some counter. Let me take a drink of my coffee. I am freezing today. So I have a cup of coffee here, trying to keep myself halfway warm. So let's start with this one. So we need a piece. That one's not quite long enough. That one's longer than we need. That's fine. I'd rather have it longer and cut it down. What we need to do is Find our knife. We are going to run a bead of glue along the edge. Am I under camera? Yes, I am. I tried to put the camera in a better spot this week where I cleaned my table off so I could have the camera up higher. And I'm hoping I've got it enough of a workspace here that I can keep track of what I'm doing. Should have brought my wet wipes, and I just realized I forgot that. Now, if you've been following this series or my room box series, you know what the steps are here. I am going to go through, try not to get my head in the camera. I can feel it going past the foam core. Now you have a choice. I leave my pins in. Pins are cheap and they give you a little extra added. Actually, I'm not going to leave my pins in on this project because my pins are longer. So I'm going to have to let this dry before I can, and then take them out. Well, no, I can go do that because I can go into the other piece of foam core. That'll be fine. I really prefer to keep my pins in the foam core. All right, just be careful that you don't poke yourself on those pins. Now we're going to cut, let's see, that's shorter. We're going to cut a piece that is right there. Not sure why I marked it. We're going to cut remember, this is a 3/4 inch strip. It's what this is going to make. It'll make our top cabinets just a little bit more than an inch deep. And what I'm going to do, I am going to go all the way around the exterior of this, keeping these right on top of the foam core. I'm going to glue them on. I'm going to do the same thing on one of these pieces, and when I get those all glued in, I'll check back in with you and show you what it looks like. Alright, so all of those edges are pinned in and glued. I'm going to let this glue dry. And I need to get that standing up more straight. And once this glue sets a little bit, probably give it a couple of hours, then I'll come back off camera, put glue around the whole rim, and push this side on. But I want to make sure that this is set up some because they're a little wobbly yet. So when that's all in place, then, and these are glued on and dried, I'll come back and we'll start working on putting the exterior on them. Alright, so basically we've created a box now, and I went ahead, I had this was not quite even, so I went ahead and trimmed it up so everything's even, and it looks pretty good. So now we're going to try it in our kitchen. So we're going to make sure that this fits, and just so I don't get mixed up, I'm going to write back. That way I don't accidentally cover the wrong side in the next step. Let's double check this one. And they both look really good. And this one again is the back. Alright, now we need to put wood, our fake wood on them. So we're going to cut, let's see, I like this one. Yeah, those are going, yeah, those will fit. Okay. So I am going to cut the first one and then I'll do the other one off camera. I'll just get this started. So this, let me remember, it's 3 inches. So I want about probably 4 inches cut off of here. And make sure that your, whoops, I had that really long to do something else. Make sure that your wood grain is going the correct direction. Meaning it needs to be going up and down, just like on the bottom cabinets. I'm going to want to cut this here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to cover the front of this with glue stick. We're just using glue stick again. I will probably use a few dots of white glue on the edges, and I'll show you that when we come back. But for our first batch of glue, what we want to do is just get this kind of just set on here. So do I have a preference? Yeah, I want to do, that's not going to work that way. Okay. And we're going to do that. And I'm going to cut another one for this one and do the same thing. And I'm going to allow this glue some time to dry. When that gets dry, I'll be back and we'll go on to the next step. Alright, so these are now glued down. The glue is set up so that we can work with it. And the first thing I'm going to do is cut my corners. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Alright, now, other thing I want to do is cut this area so it's not quite so much paper. Now, I'm going to go through and I'm going to pre-fold all these areas. I don't want to score, I'm not going to score this because I don't think we really need to score this particular batch of corners. I think we'll be fine. We just need to fold them because we've got a good sharp edge to fold against. Alright, now, I thought about what to glue this down with, and you could use, like you could brush tacky glue on. I am using my wallpaper border glue. I have it here, it's on my table, and I tried it on the first one. I've already done this one, and it worked really well. I'm using just a craft stick to spread it. Spread it all the way over the corners, and I'm doing the top and bottom long edges first, and then the vertical. So horizontal first and then vertical is the way I chose to do mine. And I'm going to be consistent with that throughout both cabinets. And if it's not sticking, just keep rubbing it down. I had a couple that I had to let dry for a few minutes and then come back and work on. Helps if you can set it down on it so there's weight against it. And this edge, it doesn't have to be perfect here. We're going to cover these long pieces. That's going to be our next step. So don't worry that these are cut not the same and they're not cut straight. That's okay. It's not going to show. Now this paper I'm covering with is the same one we used for the bottom cabinet coverings, and the instructions for it are in the video for the bottom cabinets that we did a while back. I will try to have a link to it in the description. Try not to get glue on the fronts, although we are going to eventually paint those with a matte Mod Podge. Alright, now, and these little tabs, they do want to argue with us. Just gluing down and holding. Then I turn it. Make sure you guys can see. Hopefully you're seeing this. I get into doing what I'm doing and I forget to check the camera to make sure it's actually seeing what I'm doing. Hopefully you saw most of this today. is, and it's really cold and damp right now, and my house is cold, so the glues are taking a long time to dry. So I've got this little corner and this one that want to fold up, but I'll put the lid on this, and I'll show you how the other one looks that I did a while ago. This one, this side is still lifting, so I might have to tuck some glue underneath that ridge, that edge later, but I'm going to keep working with it until I feel like it's gotten dry. It's sticking better now. Glue, as it starts to dry, becomes much more tacky, so it will help it to set. So I am going to keep an eye on these until they get dry. When they're dry, I'll come back and we'll do the next step. Alright, so now we're going to put the edges on, the sides on, to our cabinet. I did one off camera and I'm going to do this one on camera. So the first step, and yours might vary depending on your foam core and how well you cut, measure this width. Mine is 1 1/8 inches. So that's what I cut all my strips. You want to cut your strips so they are the same width as your cabinets are deep. So mine fit just perfect. So that's your next step. And after that, we're going to glue. And again, I'm using the same wallpaper border paste. And don't be concerned that this stuff looks like it's bubbling. It does when it's wet. My experience so far with using this has always been that the paper bubbles a little bit, and then when it gets dry, the bubbles shrink out. Now, I didn't show on camera, but I did crease the ends. You want to wrap it around the ends about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. You want to have the corners wrapped. I'm doing the tops and the bottoms first. And I cut my pieces. Let's see, cut this one here. It doesn't have to be cut perfectly because the ends of these are going to be covered up with our vertical pieces. So get it on, crease it really well so it'll fit really well. Put your glue on. And get this. Got a lump in my glue, so if you've got a lump, just get rid of it. Try not to have too much glue oozing out on the fronts of your cabinets, but we are at the very almost last step. When we get these cabinets onto the walls, we are going to go through and put a coat of clear finish that's a matte over all the cabinets before we add the knobs. Right, now let's see if I can remember which piece I cut. Is it this one? No. No. I think I was going to use this one. Alright, so fold and fold. Excuse me, I did not mean to cough, but I'm not really at a position here on this video where I could start over either. And I do apologize again for last week's video having missing footage. I had a technical difficulty with my editing software. I ended up actually deleting my editing software off my computer and reinstalling it. That was what IT told me to do. They even sent me a special program to make sure everything was uninstalled. So hopefully this week we'll go without a hitch. Now, make sure you've got the vertical pieces we want cut to fit pretty much exactly. They can be a little short top and bottom, but not by very much. You want it to look like a solid piece of wood on the ends of your cabinets. And I pre-cut these off camera because I didn't figure we wanted to watch me cut all of these. Now these are 2 short pieces. Make sure everything is, and make sure these are folded straight so they don't stick out past the front. spots here. Now, all of this glue will need to dry. So I'm going to let this glue dry, and then I'll come back and we'll look at these once they're dry. So I'll be back in just a little bit. Alright, so this is very, very slowly drying. I think I've mentioned several times in this series that it is really cold and really damp here. And so it's affecting drying time. And I could heat this, but because it's foam core, that could affect the foam core. And also, if you try to rush the drying, it can make some of this buckling and bubbling permanent. So I don't want to do that. I want this to dry as naturally as it can. Also, before next week, I think I need to paint one more sheet of paper, so I'll have some paper to cover the doors with. And then we can install the doors and install this into our little kitchen corner next week. So I hope you're enjoying this series. Be sure and check the blog post for some photos. Be sure and check the Facebook page if you haven't already. That's a good place to get a hold of me. And if you'd like to help make this channel even better and get your name at the end of the video, be sure and check out my Patreon page. The link is in the description box below. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye.